My service here at Memorial was definitely interesting because we had COVID sophomore year, and so I try to find ways to do service hours, and so we would make masks or do a lot of things at home. But I definitely liked being able to go out to the Boys and Girls Club or doing even projects here at school for service hours. One of the service projects that was most impactful for me was CSF Angel Tree this year. I was involved in it last year, but this year I decided that I wanted to lead it. And it was definitely impactful because I, for one, was very passionate about it, and I was really excited to be able to organize things and then being able to go to the Boys and Girls Club and passing out the presents and just kind of interacting with the leaders who worked there and seeing how happy and grateful they were for cookies from Target and, just showing up. It was really meaningful. I think my biggest takeaway is, yes, it's mandatory for you to do it, but I think as you continue to do it, you start to enjoy it and you start to find things that you like. And I really enjoy just going and making friends and seeing people for who they are rather than where they live or what side of town I'm on or, anything like that.
I heard you went to Costa Rica one of the summers. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, we call it an exposure trip at my church because we don't want it to seem like we're going and, building cities or whatever. We just went and my grandpa and I volunteered at a workshop or a wood shop with Students International, and we basically just helped women learn how to build their own furniture so that way they wouldn't have to go out and buy it, and then they provided childcare. And so I would watch a lot of the kids and kind of work in the workshops, and yeah, it was really impactful.
Tell me a little bit about your service experience here at Memorial throughout your 4 years. How was that for you?
It was good. I've been serving since like 7th grade, and it's pretty much the same thing, but it's always hard to find time when you do sports and stuff.
What was your biggest takeaway from doing service here at Memorial?
I think the best part was when they recognized me, like the multiple times I went, and then I kind of started to get into the friend groups, and they would actually kind of just treat me like I'm one of them instead of like big kid or whatever.
Did you see yourself continuing to do service work after graduating from Memorial?
Every time I go, I wonder why I don't go more, but then I just realize it's because I'm so busy, so maybe when I find time, if I think about going there, I'll go.
I've done most of my service at Poverello House, and I think it's just been really kind of enlightening. It's been a really good way to kind of see the real side of Fresno, like the kind of unfortunate side of it. And I think it just helped me learn a lot.
What has been your biggest takeaway about serving at Poverello House? Like maybe one or two things that you've learned or taken away from this experience?
I think just like how much like even just like a small act, like just going there and serving the meals can kind of affect their moods and just make them happier. And I think definitely just how people can come together and make a big difference.
Why do you think it's so important that students at Memorial do service here throughout their 4 years?
I think because I don't think that many other schools do service like Memorial does. And I think it just teaches you a lot about giving back to your community and kind of finding ways just to do things outside of school that help like in any way. And I think it's obviously required too, but I think it teaches kids a lot, and I think it's a very good lesson.
You'll be graduating from Memorial in a couple of weeks. Will you continue doing service work? And if so, what kind of service work will you continue after graduation?
I hope to. I don't know what is totally available. I'm going to Oregon next year. I don't know what will be there, but definitely when I come back, I would like to go back to the Poverello House whenever I can and just see how they're doing and just kind of get another glimpse back at it. But I hope to continue my service while I move on.
I've had a lot of places I've been to. One of the most memorable has probably been Poverello House in Fresno. They work to like serve food and give clothing out to the homeless population in and around Fresno County, Clovis, and a lot of it was serving food in the kitchen, packaging food, preparing food, and serving it to the more marginalized.
What was your biggest takeaway from doing service at Poverello House?
My biggest takeaway was to always give back to what you don't give back to the community, because a lot of things we take for granted and we don't appreciate what we truly have, and realize that a lot of people don't have that in our society. So it's always good to give back to people who deserve to have something.
For me, doing service here at Memorial has been awesome. I've volunteered at a variety of places, mainly Valley Children's, but I've also volunteered at the Poverello House, the Boys and Girls Club, and like it's always been like a nice experience to like give back to the community.
What has been your biggest takeaway from volunteering at Valley Children's Hospital?
I would say my biggest takeaway is just to be like grateful for what like I have. Like it's nice to like be able to help kids and patients who are in need, and like just to be grateful.
And how about your biggest highlight from volunteering at Poverello House?
I'd say my biggest highlight is like seeing the smiles like on the faces when like the people receive the food, because like whenever I would volunteer there, like I would just help prepare food and like serve it, and it's nice to like see all these people who need help like getting something they deserve. I think it's important to have service for all our students because I think it builds a deeper connection with God, and then also it builds a connection with others in the community, and I think it's important to have like those values of like giving back to the community. One thing I learned about myself is just to like be grateful for what I have, and like it's nice to like have the ability and like the fortune to like be able to give back to my community.
Also, there's like an underlying emotion, I guess, that you go through when you're serving others, and that feels good. That's kind of like replenishing your soul, like in a figurative sense.
And what was the biggest highlight for you of doing service at the different places where you did service? Your biggest takeaway?
Maybe the times when I see people smiling, just when I interact with them.
I think it is important because I believe that what you have to pay back that what you get from society. So in terms of compensation, I think we need the service.
Tell me, what has been your biggest takeaway from the different service projects that you were involved in?
My biggest takeaway is I really realized that I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Catholic, I don't have any religion, but still the service is essential thing that we have to do because we're all human, we cooperate, and to be in the society and what you have to compensate for what they're granting to you. And I think that's how it would work because there's nothing free.
Memorial.
Through my 4 years at Memorial of doing service, as a freshman, as a freshman and sophomore for me, there wasn't that much service due to COVID. But as soon as we came back, junior, senior year, I was able to really get on to the service aspect of it and know that it was time for me to really push myself to really help the community, because I was able to help with them more one-on-one personally. And so for me, once I had that again, I was able to really focus my attention on that, because I'm that person to always help other people, because I know that I'm at an advantage compared to some other people. So I wanted to give back to my community because that made me feel better as a person.
What would you say your biggest takeaway has been from doing all these different kinds of service?
I would say my takeaway from this is that I kind of learned more about not just that people out there are at a disadvantage, but also it's kind of helped me to know that we're all still at the same level, even if they have less opportunities. And it has just made me appreciate more of what I have and just kind of help those to experience that same thing too.
Okay, I've had a lot of experience doing service because of the many wonderful service opportunities that you can find on Naviance, but I mostly served at the Boys and Girls Club at multiple locations, but mostly we have a Boys and Girls Club right here by Memorial, where I worked with many kids, and it enriched my life getting to work with these kids, and it made me really have a greater appreciation for what I have, and I was able to really see just a different way of life and just a different culture and community, which I was able to be a part of and embrace and kind of become one of them, and just like be a figure to these kids to look up to, and just really become like a brother almost to these people, you know?
What would you say your biggest takeaway after doing all these different experiences is for you?
I think the takeaway honestly is the gratitude that I've gained and the grace. I just think that it's really enriched my life and my thoughts. Like I've been able to have like much more self-reflection doing these service projects, like working at St. Agnes Medical Hospital where I volunteered at. I was able to see a lot of things where I was able to kind of gain a deeper understanding of humans and our connections.
Why do you think it's important that we have service opportunities here at Memorial?
I think it's important to help enrich the lives. I think it's important to give back to the community, because you know this community really does everything for us, and by giving back to it, it just fosters, just keeps good energy, feeds into good energy. And I think just the many service opportunities help kids grow and learn.
You'll be graduating in a couple of weeks. Do you see yourself doing service wherever you go?
Oh, absolutely. I think service has just always been a big part of my life. Thanks to Memorial, I've been able to help make it part of myself and just a characteristic of myself, where I would like to go and volunteer and help wherever I can. Because, you know, it's gotten to the point where, like, when you see something like at Memorial, you want to do something where you can help the community and just help out wherever you can. That's the mentality.
What will be the thing that you'll miss the most regarding service that you've done here at Memorial?
I think it'll definitely just be the community of kids that I've grown with over the years. 4 years of doing this, I've been able to make a lot of deep connections with these people, and I think losing that is going to be tough, to have to try to find a new constant in life.
So mainly I volunteered at this retirement home called Carmel Village at Clovis. In that time, I did a lot of activities with the elderly and got to know some of the elderly clientele there. It made me feel really good because it reminded me of my great-grandparents and how they were, and it brought me closer to a part of the community that I've never really got to connect with before.
Why do you think it's important that we have this service program here at Memorial?
I think it's important because it gets people out of their comfort zone. It gets people to experience things that they've never experienced before, and it really broadens people's perspective on life.
What was one of your biggest takeaways or highlights from doing this service work?
One of my biggest takeaways is getting to know people that I've never known before. When I volunteered at that retirement home, I actually ended up getting a job there because I found a really intense connection with the elderly and getting to help them through their trials and tribulations and getting to know them on a deeper, more personal level.
What would you say was one thing you learned about yourself that you probably didn't know, a quality that you had from doing this service work?
I learned that I have a really good life and that I'm blessed to have all the things that I have, because there's lots of people that have misfortunes in their life, and they go through their days battling those misfortunes. And I realize that I have a lot of compassion for those people, and I can help those individuals get through their hardships any ways that I can.